John,
Hey, Angie.
I have to tell you, I actually I came across something in the last couple of weeks, and I think it's a great topic for our recording today.
All right, tell me what's going on.
It's an interesting thing. I think it's an area that we really haven't talked about yet, but it's really in alignment. As you know, I'm going through this major growth spurt.
I
And
do.
yeah, so there's this, I mean, we all are, right, in our way, but there's something that hit. And it's putting me in this space of I've reached capacity. Personally, I have
Hmm.
reached capacity. We've never talked
Which
about
is
that before.
not a terrible problem to have, is it?
It's not, but you and I know we've been talking about this. This is a genuine problem. So I think it's
It is.
worthwhile for our listeners to talk about what you and I have been talking about, right? How to navigate this and what a wonderful problem to have, but still a challenge nonetheless.
I agree. Let's open the clinic.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes.
Angie, I've seen coaches hit capacity and get pulled down because they haven't been ready for it. They haven't been prepared for it. And I don't think you're completely unprepared for it. Like, you have a lot of industry experience. So for our listener, maybe you can share a little bit about what is going, with what you can share, what's going on for you, and how that's affecting how you move forward.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 points of reference that my experience has brought me to. So for our listeners, right, if you're a newer coach or are you a full-time coach to be, or are you a part-time coach, like this is who I only want to be, it's a side gig for me. Either way, you reach a point of capacity at some point. That's the
Yeah,
goal. The goal is I want to reach my point of capacity. And it becomes this, it can be a bit overwhelming because you say, well, this is great, but there's the but. What happens? How do you juggle your time? Are you overextending? And you said something earlier about burning the candle at both ends
hmm
because we're business, right? We're talking small business here, everybody. We're not talking one of these big conglomerates that have 85 different coaches. I'm talking this is the solopreneur space.
yeah.
Um,
Hey, look, when you hit capacity in a big organization, the clients could just get assigned to another coach. It's not a problem.
yeah.
Um, Good for you. Your calendar's full. Although you're probably super busy, which some people love, some people don't. But when it is just you, I do think a lot of coaches do become the almost a martyr to their business. I have to solve this. I have to work with the clients. Like, you can't say no to anything, and
Right.
you have to solve your own problem. Like, well, maybe speak to your coach about it. That would be a good
That-
start.
That's a great point, though, right? It's like, so the thing about reaching capacity, here's the good news. You've reached capacity. So I think number one, for people who are coming into coaching, because okay, back up 2 seconds, 2 steps. I used to work, as you all know, I worked for a coaching company several years ago, and my capacity at that time was a ridiculous number per week of 1 hour coaching sessions. So it became like a job. And I will say to you that from that experience, what I actually was able to recognize, because they were feeding, and I still had private clients, but there was an expectation of what's your capacity? All right. And you had that capacity. The minute you said yes, boom, your calendar was full and I was wiped out. I was doing so many sessions that what I learned was, this is the important part. It's not a complaint. It was an opportunity to learn what I didn't already know about coaching. By the way, if you can coach 40 people a week for 1 hour, I need to meet you because I could not do it. I didn't have, forget the time available. It wasn't that. It was the mental and the emotional capacity, energy to do it in a very successful way. So I learned what wasn't going to work, and that was, by the way, over 30 a week. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I couldn't do it well. So I had to scale back. And then what I learned was my sweet spot. So that was my little backup there. So I know what my capacity is. I think first understanding your capacity is very important. And how do you decide that, right? Like when you've worked for other companies. So
Yeah.
do you know what your capacity is? Like, do you know what your maximum is?
No, I remember opening up. I've worked at capacity for sure, and I remember opening up initially a 40-hour week. It was like the pretty standard days. That's what I had available, and they kind of needed more. So at the
Were those
boutique,
60 out? I mean, 60-minute, those were 1 hour sessions or 30-minute?
no, 30-minute sessions. But
Okay.
I will say, like earlier days of that, I was not so good at being tight on my 30
Mm.
minutes. So often they would be more 45-minute sessions. So
Mm.
my buffer times would often get erased. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen now. I mean, not that I'm like, if we're in the middle of something like, right, time's up, I'm not like that. But,
Sure.
I'm very cognizant of time and I get things finished. But yeah, so 30-minute sessions, it did mean that, whilst I wasn't doing back to back throughout the day, some of them would end up being back to back just by default.
Oh my gosh. I
And,
could never, I did that. I don't first, just like I have
yeah.
to interject here and say, this day and age, I cannot do that anymore. It is not good. I like to prepare for
No.
my sessions. I don't do a like, but again, I've done it. That's how I know I shouldn't do it. I need a restroom break, by the way.
Yeah, I think that might be something we talk about next week. But to be honest with you, the what we do, the sort of preparation before the sessions is actually a great topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same now. I not just can't do it, I won't do it because it's not fair to me and it's not fair to the clients because I'm not prepared. I haven't taken my notes. I'm scrambling to remember. Like if I'm doing all my notes at the end of the day, and I have tried it. I think a few years ago I tried it, but at the end of the day, I couldn't remember enough of what I talked about with my first client to be able to make valuable notes on it. So I need to do the notes while it's fresh, or whilst I'm on the call and afterwards, so that I do have the points of reference for next time. But look, I mean, working at capacity, I ended up opening up Saturday mornings. That was a bad idea. Because I actually ended up with clients who wouldn't shift from Saturday morning for a couple of years. So that locked me in. It locked me into doing Saturday mornings, which I wasn't grateful for. So, I did start to experience that I can't take this much more. This is too much. I need to pull back. The money was nice and everything, but it wasn't really compensating me well enough for how exhausted I felt and how little of a life I felt that I was getting.
No,
because
we need
all
to
I
have
was
that.
doing was coaching.
Correct. And you know what? I did that as well. Did you hear me moaning when John said he did Saturday mornings? I was like, oh, because when I worked for this company, they had global clients, which is fine. I make adjustments all the time in my schedule. So that I ended up taking a 7 a.m. Sunday morning client. If you could see my face right now. I was not happy. I did it because I was like, oh, it's just an hour. It's fine. But it was amazing how mentally that to me was like now the beginning of my work week. It just shifted energy. So here's here's a boundary. I tried it. I did it. If you have nothing else going on and your weekends aren't a protected space for you, have at it. I'm not saying not to do that. And John's not saying that. Do what works for you. We did it and it didn't work for us. So guess what? There is a 10-foot flame boundary around my weekends now because it's not, I've had people offer me like, well, would you do it for more money? No, I won't, because it just puts me back into the bad habit of bending and flexing. No, I'm not doing that. So just clear about that.
These days I would be open to the occasional weekend keynote or workshop, but
Yeah.
Opening up my calendar for coaching at the weekend is not going to happen. But I will say I was single at the time. I wasn't married. This is before I got married. So yeah, I had the time, the availability. But even with all that time and availability, coaching was all I was doing. And as much as I love it, it's like there's more to life. There is more to life than being on coaching calls with clients.
It's true, but there's also the decompression state. Like, so John and I have talked about how it really is a drain. And that's where that again, learning, you have to learn your boundaries. You have to learn what your sweet spot is. I now know my sweet spot, and I do not commit to more than that. But here's the thing. So you've learned, you've experienced, you do weekends, you don't do weekends. Like yourself, I was single when I took on the Sunday morning thing. And then in the midst of it, I became unsingle. And I was like, this person, that I'm now married to, by the way, was like, so what's this Sunday morning thing that you have to go run into the office and do a what? Because it was crazy. But again, we worked through that. But again, I learned something else about myself as a business owner. So fast forward, right? You learn some things along the way and you say, okay, what are some of the boundaries? And I have to say, privately, not working for another company, I have now experienced, I have hit my mark. I could not take on another client right now, and nor should I, because I've hit my sweet spot. I've hit it. I know what it is. But here's the challenge, right? I can handle it. I'm at capacity. There's things that I do as a coach in preparation for each session, like John mentioned, right? Like you mentioned earlier. There's buffers in between. There's certain little exercises that I do physically and mentally to keep me fresh. Because coaching is no joke. It's a deep conversation. It is mental acrobatics for us as coaches, emotional acrobatics all day. So we need to really put some practices in place when it's not one person a day anymore. It's a very different animal. And maybe that's another conversation is what do you do? Right? Just saying.
Add it to the bank. Yeah, I'll say this. I have a pretty new program, and I have people coming into that, and it's great. It's not a capacity, but I'm only coaching part-time these days, and I will hit capacity very much quicker than I would have with any other of my coaching ventures. And that to me, I have thought ahead to this. That's going to be the signal to me that it's time to look at a group program. Because I'll start off with one-to-one, but then I'm going to have to move it into a group program. Now, that's not going to necessarily work for everyone's kind of coaching. Some people do coaching and it has to stay one-to-one. Fine, I got you. You can't make that group coaching. I understand. But for many coaches, probably the majority of coaches, especially in coaches in the sort of business arena, you absolutely can. You can absolutely leverage into business coaching, because unless people are going to be sharing personal insights and life secrets in the call, where you wouldn't want to have your colleagues and your peers on there,
Correct,
then you're pretty good. You're pretty good to go. Otherwise, generally with those sorts of things, you lead the call, you run the call. People will do most of the work. They'll share what they're comfortable to share, and other stuff they may not share. They may not share openly on the call, and that's okay. I think you can still get great results, and there are benefits to group work that you won't get in one-to-one as much as there are benefits in one-to-one that are harder to do in groups. So it swings and roundabouts, but I think that's a good sign that it might be time to leverage your time a bit more and see how could you go about making the shift to group work instead of one-to-one.
And listen, and I think it's great to do that. I love group coaching. I mean, I call them workshops, and it is a group call, and maybe it's always on the same thing, but I love doing that. And that is part of what I'm still doing. And it is a great way to expand in a very intentional way. But here's the thing. So you're doing group coaching, you're doing one-to-one coaching, whatever you're doing, you reach capacity from a business perspective. Now what do you do? Do you keep, this is some of the, John and I have been talking about this. Do you keep looking to fill the pipeline? How do you keep doing that? You don't, I know we talked very early on when we started the show, we talked about like avoiding that cyclical business model that people get into. It's like, I'm making an effort, things are good. And then I get busy doing the thing. And then what happens? I'm done doing the thing that I was doing, and now I have to start almost over again. And it becomes this like very wavy roller coaster ride. The same thing happens here. So what do you do if you're very like early on in your year, right? Like your engagements and whatever it is you're doing, you're at capacity. How do you navigate going into, well, I don't want cyclical. So what do I do to keep it flowing without having to wait until the last minute? You gotta see John's face right now. He's like shaking his head like, I don't know.
I don't know. You think I have nothing to say on this? You'd be very mistaken.
I love to hear it. So, I'm listening.
This is the point where you kind of have to take your coach head off to a degree and put your business head on.
Yeah.
Because it is a business problem, and this is one where you want to be making sure that you are managing consistent lead generation and lead flow into your business.
Yes.
So that you're always having your pipeline as full as you can manage. You know that the thing of like airlines always overbook flights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, so, unfortunately. Go ahead.
Yeah, many of us have had that experience of not quite getting on because of that. But it's a very common practice because they want to keep the flights full. You want to keep your business full. That might mean having some wait lists. It might mean having some lower end programs that people can do whilst they're waiting to come and work with you, that you can keep them engaged, or have other ways to keep them engaged with you whilst ultimately they're turning up their desire to come and work with you. Because I think what's the other thing? We don't like being told we can't have something, right? We don't like having to wait for something, but we generally appreciate it a lot more when we've had to delay our gratification before we get the thing that we want to get. We value it a lot more because we've been wanting to do it for a lot longer. So if you can create that kind of feeling with your clients, I think you are setting yourself up to be even more valuable to them.
Call that placeholder engagement, and I like that. I mean, that's similar. It's like what, tomato kind of a thing. But yes, the thing is, the key to what John is saying is we don't want to say no, and we don't want to lose the prospect. We don't want to lose them because of our inability timeline to engage. So, what do we do in the meantime? How do we keep them engaged at a high level? Like, I mean, I know John said like at a low level, but meaning less engaged with them directly per se. But what do you do? How do you prepare for that? For me, it was a bit of a surprise. So I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this because it's, the way it's structured for me. But at the end of the day, it is a great practice to have, I think, something in place that, or create something, even if it's because every client is different. Their necessity is different, whatever that is, but creating something that will prepare them for their engagement with you and get them started so they don't have to wait a year. Nobody's waiting. Listen, nobody's waiting a year for you. Nobody's waiting 3 months for you even. So you have to, look, John shook his head like, well, maybe, but if
they can't afford to work with you right now, if it's because they can't afford to work with you, maybe they'll work with you, but they'll wait a year and they'll work towards being able to afford to. That's a different situation. That means the blockage is on their side, not yours.
Correct.
But even with what you're doing, you said to me the other week that you were already nurturing some relationships that were going to help to ensure future contracts and future work for yourself. You are already thinking about what's after this, what comes next. And I do think that, there may be some people sort of thinking, well, I probably know other coaches who could come and help me. Again, this
Yes.
is conversation. We've had these conversations.
Yes.
And great. If you do, it might be something seriously worth thinking about. That is one way in which you might be able to increase your capacity and scale things up. But there's going to be other things that will come with that. Like, are they going to be able to deliver are your clients going to get what you offer? Can you coach and train the other coaches that you do bring in to be able to deliver what you're promising in a way that
Yeah.
you'll be happy with? I think that there are a number of elements you might want to consider to make that actually work, because you can't just say, all right, I know this person, Sally's a coach, I'll bring her in. And
Sure.
then it might not work out.
Listen, so that's something that you and I have talked about, right? Very specifically. I'm like, hey, John, I have this challenge right now. And I don't want to worry about what hasn't happened yet, but I need to make sure that I I don't want things to be cyclical. I don't want that to be the case. I want there to be that consistency, continuity. And honestly, here was my answer to you. I haven't stopped. Let me deal with it when it actually happens, that there's more people. But what did I do? You and I had a conversation, and then I said, I'm not looking to be more than the one-man band, but is there a way for me to engage with other coaches that I know, that I trust? And this is not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that luxury, but it is an option if there are people that that are even an expert in a field, but John and I talked about it. He is definitely a wingman person for me. Hey, if I need X, Y, or Z, based on your availability, would you be willing to take on? Why? Because I do trust him. I know how he coaches. I know how he talks to clients.
But look, this absolutely is important. I think is something where it's one you want to figure out in advance, because when you're in it, when the problem's there, it's going to become more urgent, more pressured, and it's going to be harder to know where you want to go with it and what you really want to do there. So have a think about what you want to achieve here. I think we've lost Miss Angie for a minute there, but we'll kind of wrap things up at this point. But I do think it's worth, as a business owner, at least coming up with some sort of plan for yourself. Are you looking to scale up your business? Do you have a system, something that you can systemize and turn into a product where you might want to hire a team of coaches and maybe step more into running a business than actually doing the coaching yourself? So, move away from that and having a team doing it for you. These are all things you might want to consider. This is like, how do you want your business to look? Where do you really want to go with this from now and into the future? But next week, we'll be back, hopefully, as long as Angie can get her internet back. And I think we'll be taking a look at the pre-game, the work before the work, what makes your coaching sessions really fly, and maybe just not showing up on the call and saying, all right, so what do you want to do today? That might not be the best way to begin your coaching sessions. We'll be back with that and more with future episodes. Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying the show. Do let us know. We'll tell you how in just a moment.
Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.